Have you ever wondered why walking into a specific room makes you feel instantly anxious? Or why you're suddenly craving a burger just by glancing at a billboard on the highway? Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are uncovering how color acts as this hidden biological force that's just quietly dictating our behavior, our moods, and even our biology. We think we see the world exactly as it is, but the truth? Color is constantly hacking our human system.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To really understand this hack, we gotta look back a bit. Back in the early 20th century, the pioneering Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung became absolutely fascinated by how we process the world around us. And he wasn't just analyzing dreams, right? He was analyzing color. He believed that color wasn't just this passive visual thing we experience, but actually a profound psychological one, like a secret code of the mind.
As Jung so beautifully put it, colors are the mother tongue of the subconscious. I just love that phrasing. He actually utilized art therapy, analyzed these incredibly intricate mandalas created by his patients, and even delved into alchemy to try and understand the subconscious code. What he realized was that way before we even have the words to describe how we're feeling, our brains are already reacting to the colors in our environment. It's this primal, instant form of communication, and it completely bypasses our logical thought processes.
So I really have to ask you, are you actually making your choices, or is color making them for you? It's kind of wild, right? It's a question that totally shatters the illusion of free will. We walk around thinking we're fully in control, but the reality is that our brains are hardwired to respond to visual stimuli in ways we rarely, if ever, realize. And honestly, the most fascinating part of all of this, we are not the first generation to figure this out. Not even close. Humanity has known about this hidden power for a very, very long time.
If we just do a quick sweep through the historical evolution of this color code, you'll see humanity has been trying to master this magic for literally millennia. We're talking about a journey stretching all the way from ancient Egypt in 2000 BC, where chromotherapy was actually a documented medical practice, to Sir Isaac Newton decoding the physical spectrum of light in 1666, and then all the way to Johann Wolfgang von Goethe in 1810, who basically laid the groundwork for modern color psychology.
Let's look a little closer at those ancient Egyptian insights because they're fascinating. They understood that color was intrinsically linked to human personality and biology. As early as 2000 BC, they were using color for holistic treatment. They literally built these specialized temple chambers with painted rooms, and they used colored crystals to filter sunlight directly onto patients to treat all sorts of ailments. In fact, their word for color, Iwan, also translated to disposition, character, complexion, and nature. They attributed the whole discovery of light therapy to the mythological god Thoth, and they used his methods for some really profound physical and spiritual restoration. So they didn't just see color, they truly felt its medicinal power. This was real holistic medicine, guys, not just some ancient interior decorating. Fast forward a few thousand years, and the conversation completely shifts from mysticism over to science. On one hand, we've got Sir Isaac Newton, who back in 1666 physically refracted white light through a prism and discovered the Roy-G-Biv spectrum. Right? He proved that color is a physical property of light wavelengths. But then, contrast that with Johann Wolfgang von Goethe in 1810. See, Newton gave us the physics, but Goethe realized that a purely physical model totally missed the fact that human beings are, well, emotional creatures. So Goethe introduced this psychological theory of emotional polarity. He suggested that colors are actually active forces that we construct in our minds. Like, yellow is actively gladdening, while blue can be melancholic. He hit the nail on the head by realizing that color is this deeply internal experience, not just external physics.
Now, what's really interesting here is that modern neurobiology proves Goethe was onto something absolutely massive. Meet your iPRGCs. That stands for intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. Sounds complicated? I know, but here's how it works. When light enters your eye, your regular rods and cones handle your normal vision. But these iPRGCs, they are a completely different system. They take specific light wavelengths and bypass your regular vision entirely. Instead, they send these non-visual physiological color signals straight into your hypothalamus. And that's the part of your brain that controls your hormones and your endocrine system. So you aren't just seeing color, your biology is literally absorbing it.
So, the crucial point is how this biological override actually plays out in our bodies on a day-to-day basis. Let's just compare red and blue for a second.
From an evolutionary perspective, seeing red triggers a physical alarm. It stimulates evolutionary arousal, increases motor function, and it's even linked to testosterone levels. Just think of flushing in anger or the color of oxygenated blood. It demands attention. It demands action. Actually, that's exactly why sports teams wearing red have a statistically higher chance of winning. No way, right? But it's true. Blue, on the other hand, sits on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Perceiving soft blue light actively slows your heart rate, it reduces your cortisol levels, and it promotes this real sense of calmness and spatial expansion. Your body quite literally functions differently depending on which of these hues it happens to be exposed to.
But, it's not just pure biology at play here. Our reactions to color are this really complex mix of evolutionary biology and socially learned cues. Psychologists basically categorize this into two types of meaning. First up, there's embodied meaning. These are those hardwired biological responses we were just talking about, right? Like how red raises your heart rate. That happens no matter where you're from in the world. But then there's referential meaning, and this one is entirely learned and context-dependent. It's the associations you build based on your specific culture, your environment, and the world you grew up in. To really see how powerful referential meaning is, we can rapidly break down some of these cultural differences. Just look at how learned context can drastically shift our emotional reactions. So, in Western cultures, red usually means danger or stop. But in a lot of Eastern cultures, like in China, it symbolizes profound luck and prosperity. Then take white. It represents purity in the West, typically worn at weddings, right? But jump over to many Eastern traditions, and it's actually the color of mourning. Meanwhile, black is traditionally tied to mourning in the West, but on a global scale, it's also heavily leveraged by brands to represent power, sophistication, and luxury. So your psychological reaction to a color can completely flip, just depending on where you happen to live. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why major corporations are spending billions studying this whole phenomenon. Research shows that up to 90% of snap judgments made when we buy products are based on color alone. 90%! Think about that. Before you've even checked a price tag, your subconscious mind has already opened your wallet. This is exactly how modern corporations harness both the biological and the referential color psychology to manipulate our consumer behavior. They are, quite literally, weaponizing hue. Think about fast food chains for a second. They aggressively use red and yellow. Why is that? Well, because red biologically stimulates your appetite, and yellow grabs your attention, ultimately encouraging you to eat quickly and get out. On the flip side, luxury brands rely on black and muted gold to make you feel like you're buying into this highly exclusive club. Even your local grocery store plays along. They put green and brown tones near the produce just to whisper that earthy organic freshness right into your ear. They aren't just picking pretty colors, they are meticulously designing your emotional response. But hey, this manipulation isn't always about just getting you to buy something. It's also about shaping your health and your daily reality. Research published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology shows that deliberate color application in architecture profoundly impacts us. For example, hospitals and healthcare facilities deliberately use soft blue and green on their walls. And why do they do that? Because these specific cool tones have been scientifically shown to significantly lower patient stress, reduce cortisol, and actually drop blood pressure. It's amazing. They are basically treating patients with color before a doctor even walks into the room. Let's move along and see how this builds into the broader spaces we inhabit every single day. Architectural and interior design choices actively dictate our daily moods and even our efficiency. Like a children's classroom painted in dark gray, it's going to feel inherently oppressive, completely regardless of how brightly colored the furniture in there is. Or imagine a meditation center bathed in fluorescent orange. That's going to totally agitate your nervous system rather than relax it. Conversely, pale blue and green offices are proven to actively increase worker creativity and focus. Basically, the colors on the walls are quietly running the operating system of your mind. Which brings us to a final, kind of provocative thought to leave you with today. We all navigate our lives thinking our emotions are entirely our own, right? That they're born exclusively from our thoughts and our daily interactions. But knowing what we know now about biology, about culture, and the subtle hacking of our subconscious mind, next time you feel a sudden wave of anxiety, or a burst of hunger, or even a profound sense of calm, before you immediately look inward, just stop and ask yourself, what color is the room? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your eyes open out there, and I'll see you next time.